Okay, let's get started. Welcome everyone. This is our winter 2021 update. Thank you everybody for joining. My name is Tyler Collier. I'm the product manager for SmartNet North America. We've got quite a bit of material to cover today. We are recording this webinar, so if you do have a colleague, a cohort, partner in crime, or somebody else that is unable to make today's presentation, we will be posting this on the support website as soon as we are done. So that they can visit there and watch it. Or should you want to listen to the dulcet tones of my voice one more time, we'll be posting it there so you can rewatch it if you need to. So with that, let's get started. So today we're going to be covering a variety of topics. Do a quick correction service update, GNSS and developments and updates. So just kind of give you a kind of a state of the union, seeing how everything is. We'll then move into the new features and services that are being launched in the coming weeks that this webinar is targeted to announce and introduce you to. So we have new RINEX services and features that will be becoming available, as well as some new GIS focused services and features that will be becoming available. Additional to that, we'll also introduce some changes that we have on the site information tool and those updates, as well as wrapping up with some important dates, Q&A session at the end, should you need it, and to address anything else that might be outstanding out there. At any point, if you do have a question during the middle of this presentation, feel free to put a comment in the question and answer section. I will either answer it in real time right then, or I will let you know that we'll be answering that a little bit further into the presentation. So without any further delay, let's get rolling. So quick correction services update. I showed this slide on most presentations that we do. This is showing of course, that we're now a little over 1,560 stations and covering 1.4 billion acres of coverage. This means we have coverage or service in all 50 states and 8 Canadian provinces. We're now covering 114 out of 129 U.S. metropolitan statistical areas with a population greater than 500,000. The areas that we don't currently cover are primarily in Florida, and then we have some coverage. We have some lack of coverage in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Dayton, Ohio. But aside from that, the population, literally Pittsburgh and Dayton are the only two MSAs outside of Florida over 500,000 that we don't have coverage today. In addition to that, we also have 525 out of 619 MSAs covered with a population greater than 50,000 here in the U.S. So we cover about 300 million folks in the U.S. and about 28 million folks in Canada, and we're always expanding, growing, and adding to that coverage. But our goal is to have footprint and coverage where you need it and where work and people are. This is the most current coverage map that's available. So this has just been updated, showing where we have coverage that has just been added, some of the new areas, as well as I think there's like one dot on the map literally that a station got installed this week. So it's already on there. We might not have coverage there today, but it will be online here in the next few days. So this is the most current coverage map. You can go both to the global site, but also go into resources, network coverage map inside the portal and see where we do have coverage available to you today. In addition to that, SmartNet is always committed to making sure that we're continuing to improve, add coverage, add GNSS coverage, et cetera, into the network. And so to illustrate that point, these are some of the most recent projects that we've kicked off or finished here in the US and Canada. So we've just finished late last year a corridor densification between Washington, D.C. and Boston. That has now been completed. That is to bring 20-kilometer baseline coverages for machine control and rail applications along the primary thoroughfares between DC and Boston. That was about 23 new sites. Colorado and Wyoming, we've just almost completed a GNSS upgrade and expansion program with, I think, 10 new sites going in with GNSS capabilities, as well as some expansion happening in that same area. So this brings Colorado and Wyoming to full GNSS capabilities. And I think we have 2 more sites to go in. They are new sites for additional expansion that will be covered hopefully in the next 30 to 60 days. Tennessee, we've also started a densification and expansion program around Metro Nashville. This is about 75% complete. We just got confirmation this week about the final sites being approved and ready for installation. So as soon as crews can make it through down into Nashville in the coming weeks, those sites will be installed as well. Lastly, here in the U.S., West Texas has just gone through or is going through an expansion program. So this is along the I-10 and I-20 corridors from El Paso to Dallas and El Paso to San Antonio. We're about 60% complete there with crews moving into market this week and next to try to wrap most of that up. I think we'll still have a straggler station or 2 to wrap there, but again, targeting to wrap in 30 to 45 days. This is 13 total new sites along those corridors. And then finally, in East Canada, we are now underway with our phase 2 GNSS upgrade and geometry program. The preliminary project management activities are underway, and a majority of the work is scheduled to be completed by the end of Q2. Some of this may slip into Q3 and Q4, depending on how it goes with PM activities and the ongoing COVID restrictions. To kind of give you a quick view, the Greater Toronto area will get finalization of its upgrades and some geometry improvements. Ottawa and Eastern Quebec will be focused in on upgrades, some geometry fixes, as well as other improvements in those areas. If you are in an area that's not covered by these improvements, that is planned for phase 3, but this investment here is a little over 30, somewhere between 30 and 40 sites. So piece of gear. So it's a large investment on our part. So we are doing phase investments to tackle this. So if you aren't in those particular areas, we will be moving to the other areas. Some of the further extensions of Quebec, some of the northern sites aren't going to be in this. And then of course the Maritimes are slated for phase 3. So we'll get to those, but these are what we're currently working on or wrapping up. So with what we are currently doing and what we're trying to do, what we've done in the past, the SmartNet controlled infrastructure, we're now 100% full GG, and we are 92% fully GNSS capable, meaning we can serve GPS L1, L2, L5, GLONASS, all the frequencies of Galileo, and we'll be be able to support all 3 frequencies in Beidou, when we can get them rolled out. We have GNSS corrections available in multiple formats, RTCM 3.2, MSM 4 for most of our subscribers. And then we also have RTCM 3.2, MSM 5 available for specialty needs in the automotive IoT markets, as well, I think, in a couple of particular rovers that need MSM5 as opposed to MSM4. There are mount points that support all of those specific flavors. So they're out there if you need them. And I guess these have been up for about 2.5 years now, 3 years now. And so hopefully you're using them. If you aren't currently, I encourage you, if you have full GNSS capable rovers, use one of these mount points, as it will give you the best performance with the new frequencies. On a similar note, if you aren't aware, there are 2 more scheduled launches this year, Q3 2021, for L5 capable satellites, which would take us probably by the end of the year, first of next year, to 18 total L5 satellites. So that's a big change or a big update because one of the things, it's great if we can track it, but what's key is that the birds are in the air and can be seen by the rovers and the infrastructure out there. So hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have 2 more birds up, which would bring us to 18, which furthers our abilities as GNSS users to get some really amazing results in some really difficult places. One question we see pop up quite a bit recently is Beidou support. While the infrastructure is fully Beidou compliant, meaning it is capable of tracking all the frequencies, Beidou has just finished the completion and implementation of Beidou Phase 3 with B1, B2, and B3 frequency support. This does require us to make several changes and updates before we can fully support Beidou in a network correction. So there are some required changes and updates on our side. A new version of the application layer needs to be released and then deployed. So that is the release is tentatively scheduled for, I think, sometime mid to late Q2, I think, or excuse me, early to mid Q2. The new version of measurement engine firmware and software for the receivers in the field has to become available. That will only become available once the software has been released, and then the new version of measurement engine firmware must be deployed to all of our reference station infrastructure to be able to support these frequencies correctly and then consume those frequencies on the application layer. So that is tentatively projected to happen mid 2021. So right now, if you do connect and you see that your Beidou satellites drop by 2, 3, 4, whatever you're currently tracking, that's completely normal. It's completely expected. It's not a problem. It's just that we have to get everything in place to fully support all those new frequencies and be able to do it in a manner that doesn't cause a lot of problems. So we're again working on that actively. If you do see it, it is an expected result of where we currently stand and the most recent changes to the Beidou signal structure. Another question we get on quite a frequent basis is about the reference frames and realizations that we currently support and that we will support in the future. So with current reference frames, we made the transition in January of last year to update both the NGS and NRCan realizations from version 6 in Canada and MYCS 1 in the US. We have now migrated to MYCS 2, EPIC 2010, and ITRF reference frames in the US, and we've migrated to version 7.1 on broadcast coordinates EPIC 2010 and ITRF 2014 EPIC 2010 in Canada. Overall, this transition was a tremendous success. We got hopefully you had the same experience as we had, or we heard back through the support channels, is that with the MRF mount points that we did, that we had available with the education and the launch programs that we had available, and the continued focus of maintaining alignment with NGS and NRCan, it allowed for a very seamless transition for you, our user base, which was critical for us to feel like it was a success. And overall, we feel like it went well. We hope you felt like it went well. If it didn't, please give us feedback and let us know. While we're not close to any other event that's quite this large or quite this big anytime soon, we want to take feedback from this experience and make sure that we integrate it into any future updates that have to be made as they come about. With those changes that happened, the MYCS 1, there is a typo on this presentation. I apologize. I noticed it yesterday and I forgot to fix it. MYCS 1 and CRS V6 mount points were deprecated in early 2020, as we said they would be. We got no real pushback when those older realizations were deprecated, but hopefully you are successfully, you felt like everything went successfully and that you're having a good experience when we transition on new reference frames or realizations. And the reason it's important that we kind of got a test case out of the way is because there are future reference frames that aren't at the centimeter level differences, but at the meter level differences. So what's coming ahead of us is the adoption of the NATRF 2022 reference frame. So the North American reference frame of 2022. As the name would suggest, we would expect it to be released in 2022. So that's the reason we're talking about it today, but don't worry, we have some good or bad news depending on how you look at it in just a second. This is a geocentric reference frame. It will differ by 2.2 meters from the current NAT83 reference frame. So if you're using a current broadcast coordinate that was in an MYCS2 EPIC 2010, and you were to get onto something that was a 22 2022 reference frame coordinate, you would have a very shocking difference between those two. And the reason is because the new reference frame for NATRF is aligned well with ITRF, whereas we're right now about 2.2 meters out from that alignment. In addition to that, NGS will adopt a new geoid model, geoid 2022 at the same time. And so that's, again, another large change that will be affecting us all. What does this mean for you as a SmartNet user? Well, really nothing at this time. As of June of last year, which is the most recent update that I have, is that the release has been delayed until at least 2024 or 2025. So we're still 3 or 4 years away from this happening, as opposed to it happening next year. But nonetheless, we've made one transition between reference frame. Again, it was a centimeter level adoption. So it wasn't a big change like what we're going to see come 2024, 2025, when this new reference frame becomes available. But it is critical that we understand what's going to happen. So if you have any feedback from the previous transitions, let us know so we can make sure we incorporate it into the next transition of reference frames. This is a really long link, which has the delayed release video. It talks about it, why it's being delayed, partially due to COVID challenges that were faced last year with some of the work not being able to get done. But there are a lot of reasons, and they go into some amazing detail, talk about it really, really well, and explain it really, really well of why it's going to be delayed. And it's better to be delayed and right than be rushed and wrong. So I encourage you to watch that webinar if you want to, but just know that we're still a few years away from that 2022 release, or excuse me, the NATRF 2022 being released. But we get that question quite a bit, so we wanted to make sure we try to address it in a wider audience. And of course, one way that we made this transition, this past transition, as seamless as possible, and one way that we address some of our more challenging areas, either for a variety of different reasons, was the introduction of multiple reference frame. So in case you aren't aware of this, the MRF, this capability was introduced in the fall of 2017. It made us have the ability to broadcast multiple reference frames at a mount point level, meaning we were able to very easily address and take care of customer needs based on compliance requirements or realization reference frame updates. So we're for realizations or solution transitions, like what we went through last January. We had the new reference frame on our standard mount points, and we had the old reference frames available on a multi-reference frame mount point. So you could very easily transition between either, should you need to. In the addition of high dynamic areas such as California, Washington, Oregon, California gets semi-annual updates. So twice a year, we are updating the epic and the broadcast coordinates to go out, but we always have the last coordinates available on an MRF mount point. And then finally, such as British Columbia, Vancouver Island, BC mainland, have two completely different realizations and epics that we have to support. And so we have those available along with our standard broadcast coordinates available for you, the customer. If you don't know how to get to these, you've never heard of this before, you're a new user or an old user that really hasn't encountered this, we did update the connection and configuration page to be able to support this last year a little bit more clearly than had been in the past. So with this, it means that when you make your selections, you hit get connected, you're shown your in-trip information, you're shown the port, you're shown the primary mount points that we would recommend, and then you're shown the epics of those primary mount points that are available to you. If you want to see more, there is actually a C, where you can see where it says see less right here, right now. But if you were to, normally you would just see that as see more. It would be, the other mount points would be hidden, so you wouldn't be confused. But if you wanted to see more, when you hit see more, you would also see the multiple reference frames that are available to you to support your particular need or application. In this event, you're seeing port 1111, and it's supporting IMAX 2010. So that's IMAX and a 2010 epic, or IMAX 2018 250. So a 2018 250 epic. So all of this is available for you. under the connection and configuration page. And hopefully it brings light into how you can move through time to the different realizations and epics that we currently support. So that's the MRF update. So I'm going to pause for a second, take a quick swig of water, and open the floor for any questions that you guys might have about where we're currently at with the correction service, GNSS, what stands there, or some of the coordinates and transition stuff that we've just covered. No questions? No questions? Am I moving too fast, talking too fast, not covering it well enough, confusing everyone? Okay. All right, we'll soldier on. So the meat and potatoes, new RINEX services. How do we get to the connection and config page? The connection and config page is available right off of, I'm glad somebody said something because I was afraid I was talking to myself and my mic wasn't on for a second. For the connection and configuration page, you can be in the portal and go to resources, and right under resources, there's the connection and configuration page link. It will take you there. It will also, if you get your activation email from us also contains the connection and configuration page link to take you right there to get you on and ready to go. And there's a lot of other good things under resources as well. One of them being the RINEX project tool, which we're going to cover right now. So it's a good segue. Thank you there, Scott. So RINEX. While RINEX isn't as sexy and as awesome as it used to be, it's kind of coming back in vogue. It's making a resurgence. But RINEX does present some challenges. So with RINEX, some of the past challenges that we've had is just storage of bulk data is challenging and expensive at scale. We are consuming an insane amount of data on a daily basis through SmartNet. I mean, just absolutely insane. And it gets pretty pricey when we consume all this data and then we store this data, and then only some of this data might be needed by you as a user. Because we don't know where you're going to be working, what data you need, what data you don't. So all of this is really important to make sure that we can store it and we can hold it, and then we can deliver it at scale. And at scale means to thousands of users as they need it. Our previous way that most people got at RINEX was FTP. Well, FTP is not really flexible for the growing demand or for integration at scale. It's storing flat files. It's a really stupid storage model, but it's reliable, but it's big, clunky, and really expensive to store a lot of data on just a flat file basis. File storage model that we had only allowed for 1 hour, 1 second file product delivery. And I can't tell you how many emails into support and tickets that got created of, can I get less than an hour, or can I get, this 5 hour expanse of data that I need stitched together, because some software platforms can't handle the 1 hour and stitching them together. So these are all things that we hear from the market. And then the growing challenges. Precise positioning is on the rise. The demand for more precise positioning is coming from all types of different areas, and it's coming at a pace that would surprise you from where it comes at. And this not only includes your real-time correction services, but the demand for RINEX is increasing daily. And for existing markets and brand new markets that make me scratch my head and go, man, this is a really interesting use for RINEX. We also need to be able to support multiple reference frames. You heard me reference this earlier. Realizations and epics at scale with RINEX, so that when something happens, when something is needed for one application, for a surveyor, for example, you need it to be in NAT83, which then relates very easily to a state plane coordinate or a UTM coordinate. Whereas somebody else may need it in an ITR reference frame because they're doing high scale mapping or HD mapping for autonomous car collection, et cetera. So all of these things come into play as how these get stitched together and the type of things that get asked for. And then the desire for the RINEX by the user base increases storage requirements even further. We've had a retention policy of 30 days. We had a retention policy for 90 days what seems like a blink ago. And then we had to scale back to 60 days and then 45 days and then 30 days, because as we went from, several hundred stations to over 1,500 stations, that just is a multitude of storage that is required. And you go from storing data for 2 constellations to 4 constellations, and each one of those constellations not just having 2 frequencies now, but 3, 4 frequencies. So all of this comes to play is just the growth and the scale that we see. What we had didn't allow us to address it. So with that, we are now introducing a solution called XPOS. This is an introduction of an API-based solution. This allows us to introduce a more scalable storage model. It allows us to deliver decimated and concatenated files, so we can chop them up and deliver them to them how you want them, as opposed to how we feel like we can deliver them. It allows integration at the software level for all precise positioning needs, not just for surveyors, not just for GIS, but for anybody and everybody that may need it. And then also it allows the support of multiple reference frames in realizations and epics to be called on at the time of delivery, so that a customer can say, I want this epic that's available for this station, give it to me, and then we can deliver that to the customer. So what does it mean to you as a user? With this introduction of more scalable storage model, first is the RINEX files that will be delivered out of this are fully GNSS, supporting RINEX 3. So that means, all of our whiz-bang infrastructure that we out here there that tracks all the constellations and all the frequencies will now be in the RINEX files and available to you should you need them. Additional to that, the RINEX files will now be available for 1 year. So no longer do you have to worry about, rushing or forgetting about a project, and then 32 days later you go back and you send us a message say, please, can we get data for 32 days ago? And we go, that data is long gone. That was gone 48 hours ago. We started this collection on the new platform in October 2020. So right now we have roughly 5 months of data, almost 6 months of data stored for you guys to be able to consume. So again, 2 huge benefits right off the bat. Full GNSS RINEX is now available, and RINEX files will be available for you for a period of 1 year. In addition to this, the delivery of decimated and concatenated files will now be available. That means a user can select file links and receive a single file per station down to a 15-minute interval. So, if you need an hour and 37-minute file, we can deliver an hour and 45-minute file. So you guys can get that. It's all stitched together. And in addition to being all stitched together in one file, you can also select your own epic rate. So you can select a 1 second, a 5 second, a 15 second, a 30 second, or a 60-second epic rate right from the RINEX project tool. If you're using one of the integrated platforms, we're going to deliver it in 1 second blocks. So you'll be able to, still stitch together, but you'll be able to receive 1 second files into your integration platform of choice. Integration at the software level means that this is already implemented into multiple software packages and is available for implementation into other workflows and platforms as well. So current supported integration is Leica Infinity, Novatel Waypoint, Cloud PPK, which is a drone post-processing kinematic engine. So those are already out there and available. Or if you're a large aerial company or somebody just uses a large amount of RINEX. If you are an enterprise RINEX customer now, we can allow you to integrate directly against the API to make a call from your platform directly to us and pull it in and get the data that you need in the way that you need it. So these are all things that can now be supported with XPOS, and it's pretty exciting on what we can do with it. And lastly, of course, is the support of multiple reference frames and realizations. So a platform now has the ability to make the call, the request, get the different reference frame, the different realizations available for each station in the API call, as opposed to having to go, download the data and then go to the portal and then pick what coordinate system I need and then do this and do that. All this can be stitched together in a workflow. So if you're a large scale consumer of RINEX, then you have the ability to stitch all this together in a programmatic way. So this is all pretty exciting. Greg, I'll answer that in just 2 seconds. So this can be done through the software support. All of this is tied together. And yes, Greg, it is available on a web-based interface. So the RINEX project tool, which has always been there, it's just been a little bit more limited in what we could provide. But we'll give a demo here in just a second. So how does this affect your license? Well, all licenses now will have a RINEX quota attached to it. So you will have RINEX that's available on your license now, just like in the past, except for there will be a quota that's associated with it. We will still have our introductory RINEX licenses, which include 100 hours. That's 360,000 epics, which I'm going to cover in a little bit more detail in a second. The standard annual license will have 500 hours included. So if you have a standard NRTK license, there's 500 hours associated with that license, or 1.8 million epics. And then we have RINEX, enterprise RINEX licenses that will be available from 1,000 hours upwards of 10,000 hours and beyond if you're a heavy duty RINEX user and you need it. Now, it's not just real hours. It's really by epics, but it's hard to say you have a license that's eligible for 1.8 million epics. It's a little harder to wrap your head around that. So what this means is that, if you're a standard annual license holder, you have 1.8 million epics available to you. That's basically 500 interval hours at 1 second, 2,500 interval hours at 5 seconds, or 30,000 interval hours at 60-second epic rates. So if you go on and you say, I just need 5-second data for a rapid static session, you have 2,500 hours if that's your normal use case that you're going to do. And this is, of course, all through the RINEX project tool. If you're doing it through a API integration, I think with Infinity right now, it's all 1 second data. So I'm not sure if you can make a call and say, I just wanted it concatenated data or not, something I need to follow up on. But nonetheless, it gives you a lot of flexibility of how you use the quota that's available to you to make sure that it fits your needs. Yeah, the question we've been asked as we started discussing this, and we did some market research directly with customers, talking to them about it before we launched the program. The quotas were set based on a detailed analysis of usage patterns through the portal and the existing RINEX project tool. We don't have any visibility on the usage patterns of folks that went directly to the FTP. That is one of the other reasons that we want to introduce this because we were very blind on our normal users in FTP. We weren't very blind about the people that were consuming large amount of data via FTP. But this is critical for us to be able to better support the customers and make sure that things are there when they expect it to be there. Data was also reviewed from other SmartNet networks globally to look at those usage patterns where XPOS was introduced earlier to make sure that we set quotas and we tried to define everything so that you get the maximum value out of your subscription. Craig, that's coming up later. So with all the words out of the way, we'll quickly go over here and do a quick little demo of the XPOS integration on the RINEX tool. So under resources, you'll find RINEX project tool. And when you go here, of course, you're presented with a map, and then you can pick your site that you want. So right now it's basing this location based off of my rough geographic location that I'm sitting at right now. So based on my address, it pulls up the most, I think it's 8 stations around me. Now I can adjust that. So I can either do that from map where I zoom out and hit the from map button here. I can say, okay, I want it from a particular station. So if I said that I wanted it AZMP, for example, and I say update, then it's going to, of course, show me my map, show me my stations around that. And then I can also start setting my time period criteria. So in here, I can come and I can say, I actually want data as recent as 15 minutes ago. So this is one of the other complaints that we're addressing here, is that previously, if you wanted data for today, you had to wait till sometime this evening when tasks ran and started calculating RINEX availability. Now you literally can get files within a 15-minute time interval. So basically, if you get stuck in traffic from the job site to the office, by the time you get back to the office, unless the job site happened to be across the road from the office, the RINEX will be there and be available to you. But say I want data back on the 10th here, starting at, I don't know, just random time. We didn't get up at 4:30 in the morning, so we're not going to pick that. We'll say 9:45, because that's when crews get out to the field. And we'll say we want it at, we want to 10:30. So, an hour, or excuse me, about a 45-minute time scale here. And then project time zone, we're working in, well, I guess we're in, I don't even know what time it is in Arizona. Is it Mountain Time? Is it Pacific Time? Is it Daylight Time? Is it savings? Never know. But we're going to go with just Mountain Time, and we'll say a 5-second file here. We'll update. It's now showing the stations that are available and the percentages. So this is now, as opposed to what we used to have, which was like 24 files available. This is actually an epic by epic accounting of the data that is available. So this is showing that we have 100%. We did find a bug. I don't think it's rounding right. I think it's like rounding from 99.8% to 100% in some instances, but we'll go with it anyway. We will pick Coolidge here because it'll show you something cool. Phoenix, and create project. Okay. So now I have the ability to create a project name. So I can say showing off XPOS. All right. And then it's going to show us our site code, our site name, our satellite system that we're getting. And then we can see right here that Coolidge is actually just GPS and GLONASS. So it hasn't been upgraded, but I picked it. So I know what I'm getting. And show me the number of epics that I'm using. So 2,700 on each one of those stations. So in total of 8,100 epics. And then it has a project license. So if I have multiple licenses on my project, I have the ability to select which license I want to use for my quota allowance here. By default, it's always going to pick the license with the highest quota remaining available to it. So we're just going to let it ride here, and we're going to hit create project. All right, project created. And now it will kick us over to the RINEX project archive. And then I can actually come in here and I can look at details. I'm going to look at one that was done earlier, but I can look at the details. I can look at, see how many epics were available to me. So we can see that 2,160 epics were available on this one. There was 2142 available in this one. So that one was at 99%. And let's see. Sorry. 2,142 epics were available there, and 96% was available here for 2074. So that's all shown quickly. So as I kill time. All right, so our download is now ready. So we can hit download. It shows us what we're downloading. It shows us the size that we're downloading, and then we're going to download all files. Now, the only kicker here is it downloads each file for each site individually, but that 45-minute frame that we worked within, if it was a 3-hour frame, I would still only have one file for that site, and it would have been stitched together, and it would have been set up for the 5-second epic rate that we chose. So with that, we have now created our RINEX project. We have downloaded our RINEX project, and it is still sitting here for us for a period of 10 days. So if we lost it or we couldn't find it, we saved it to our downloads folder as opposed to our desktop, or we cluttered our desktop and we couldn't find it, you can still come back for 10 days and download it here. So this is the RINEX project tool. And if you wonder, okay, I've done this, what's available on my quota now, I can actually come in here and it will show me the number of remaining. You probably, if you've logged in, you've seen the quota column here for a while. Like I said, we've been working on this for a minute. But you now will see the RINEX quota here under the hourly of how much is available and left to you to consume and to use. So any questions so far about the RINEX project tool or the introduction of XPOS. If you're a software user that has XPOS integrated to it, please contact your software support provider that has day-to-day interactions with the software. They will have a better idea of what you will need to use or how you would need to do it to use the new tools integrated into it. But the one thing that we want to make sure that you're aware of is you do use your license and equipment information credentials to log into XPOS from the third-party devices, from the third-party integrations. You do have to have a valid license. It can't be just your portal login that's up here. You do need to be using your license and equipment information login when you are accessing XPOS from one of the software integrations. Inside the portal, if you're using the RINEX project tool, you have the ability to select any one of your licenses, but you do have to have that license entered into your software should you need it to download it from one of the external tools. All right, let's go over here. That was done. Craig, that was your answer about web-based interface. Craig, I'm not forgetting about you. Be back to you in a second. Start using quota. Okay, we'll just show you here in a second right now. So Greg, yes, when will we start using quota? We'll talk about that in a second. You just saw where you will see what's available to you for all your quotas, but we'll answer your other question in just a second. And Sonia, thank you very much. Okay, so how does this affect your license? What licenses include RINEX? What ones don't? So introductory RINEX starts with 100 hours. So when you sign up for SmartNet, you get a 100-hour introductory RINEX offer, and then you can renew and add from that. A standard RTK license, it's varied based on term. So we'll cover that in a second. Enterprise RTK does not include RINEX. You will need to buy or have a enterprise RINEX entitlement added to your account after the fact. The same thing with machine control site licenses, AVRTK, and IoT licenses as well. So the last three are more specialty licenses. With the enterprise RTK one, is the one that's the most difficult. We can't add 500 hours every time you add a bucket, and unfortunately, right now, we don't have a way to tie the enterprise RTK hours and the RINEX hours together. So an epic is an epic. Hopefully we'll have that in the future. But right now, enterprise RTK user would need to have a RINEX RTK entitlement, enterprise RINEX entitlement as well. So if you have an enterprise and you have some questions about that, please feel free to reach out, excuse me. So if you, what's included with your license and what other RINEX packages are available. So if you have a 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, basically they're prorated down from 500 hours. So 1 month is 50 hours, 3 months is 125 hours, 6 months is 250 hours. Like I said earlier, 1 year. So our standard, most popular license has 500 hours included with it. 2 years and 3 years have 1,000 and 1,500 respectively. And again, these are interval hours, not hard hours. So if I download 3 sites and I'm downloading an hour of data from 3 sites, but I'm doing it at 5-second interval or a 5-second epic, I'm not consuming 3 hours of data. Okay. At that point, I'm considering 180 divided by 5. So, 36 minutes of data. Okay. So, make sure you keep that in mind. Your quota will show under your account so you can see it. Your quota will show when you start to download something so that you will see it. So you have the ability to really monitor and maintain your usage to see what is there available to you when you need it. If you're a heavy RINEX user, we also have enterprise enterprise RINEX packages are available. So you can, if you're just need a little bit, you can renew and add 100 to 500 hours if you're just trying to renew some data or add some data to your existing bucket. But if you're a heavy user, 1,000, 2,500, 5,000, or even larger 10,000 hour plus packages are available for users should they need it. RINEX quotas are attached to the standard licenses and they expire concurrently. So there is, there is no carryover there. Enterprise RINEX quotas, again, they also expire after 1 year, but all RINEX quotas are authorized for national or really, North American wide US and Canada service. So quick summary, 30-day limit on RINEX is gone. Full GNSS RINEX files with available for 1 year are now becoming available. Decimated and concatenated 15-minute files are available, 1, 5, 15, 30, 60-second flavors of epic rates. It's integration into multiple software packages for a simplified workflow. Ron, your question, XPOS is integrated into Infinity? Yes, it is. Do I need to upgrade to enable it? I don't know what the version that you would need to have, but if you have a current version of XPOS, yes, it is in your software package. If you have Infinity or if you have the Novotel Waypoint or Cloud PPK, and there are other integrations coming. Flexible quota system to address your needs, your application, and your scale. We've removed reliance on an antiquated and insecure limited FTP system, which is always a problem. We've had people get blacklisted from FTP and can't download, and that's been a problem in the past because they've downloaded a lot of data or done something a little off, and then they can't download RINEX, which is not awesome for them. So we want, this gets rid of that. No virtual RINEX support is available for this. If you look in one of your third-party applications, you may see virtual RINEX. It will say not enabled. We wanted to clarify this. We just can't enable it, and we can't support the virtual RINEX simply because we have 9 network servers stretched across 1,560 sites, and it just isn't designed. The virtual RINEX just isn't designed to operate at that scale. So we're not going to support it because it would be a headache for you guys. And we don't want to introduce things that would be headaches to our customers. When will it be available, Greg? This is to answer your question. It will be available starting March 1st, 2021. So you'll be able to begin using this. Your quotas probably a couple days before that will probably start showing up in everybody's accounts. If you have an account with, if you have a 1 year account and you have 3 days left, you will see 500 hours show up. If you have a 1 year account that you've just renewed, you'll also have 500 hours show up. So it will show up at 500 hours, no matter how much time you have left in your account. So when we add the quotas, you get the full allotment for your particular term, regardless of how much time currently is left in your term. So if you have 11 months and 28 days left in your term, you're going to get 500 hours. If you have 1 month left in your term, you will also get 500 hours. It's not going to prorate out the box. When you renew, or when your license expires and your bucket is removed and the new bucket is added, you'll get the requisite amount of time. 1 year of storage started in October 2020, Mark. We started collecting, or we started storing data on the platform in October of 2020. And so you can go back through that, but you will only be able to access that through XPOS. So today, if you went to the FTP, you're going to get 30 days of data. Tomorrow, you get 30 days of data. March 1st, you can go to XPOS and go to the RINEX project tool or your integration with Infinity or Novotel, Waypoint, or Cloud PPK, and you can download back to October of 2020. So you'll be able to go back to that far. So the last part of this is March 1st is the launch of XPOS. April 1st is the deprecation of FTP access. So FTP is going away on April 1st, 2021. We got to reclaim that storage so that we can make sure that the full year will be available to you guys and make everything as seamless as possible. But we are going to give an extra 30 days of access to FTP in the interim, so it will be there. Again, to reiterate, if you need information of how your particular software program interacts with XPOS, please go through your standard software support channels. You will need your SmartNet license, your license credentials, not your portal credentials, your license credentials to access this license. Make sure you know what those are. If you don't, hit email activation in the portal, and you will get an email that has your credentials there. The new email activation that you get will also contain the data language that says this is also for XPOS or use of RINEX projects outside of the portal. So hopefully it'll be clear for you. All right, let me see what we got here. Yeah, Dan, we can take that offline. Michael Newton, you're looking at a live map. There's a large gap between Van Horn and Midland, Texas. They're going to be more. Unfortunately, I think the last thing that you can get to between Midland and Van Horn is like Odessa. I think actually we have Pecos going in, Odessa going in, Fort Stockton, but that's south on 10, not on 20. And I don't think there's a damn thing between Pecos and Van Horn, unfortunately. Like physically, I don't think there's anything there. If there was, we'd put a station there. But no, we've got a number of stations going in through there. Those will be available, like I said, in the coming weeks. But if you want to drop an email to support, I can answer it. I'm doing that off the top of my head. So, Michael, if you want to drop an email to support, I can answer that better. Dave, is there a way to see which SmartNet is your parent or whatever they are called? I don't understand the question. Are you saying master station? If you could give a little bit more details, I'll be happy to answer it in the Q&A section. If you can give me some more color. Shelby, I'll say Waypoint, yes. I'm not sure how it's currently implemented in Waypoint, Shelby. I know it's either there or has to be entitled or it's close to being there, because we've had quite a bit of conversations about it with them. So you probably want to check with Otel on the status of Waypoint if you have to have something special. But for your other questions, Shelby, drop a support ticket to us and I'll have somebody assign it to me and we can discuss it offline. Mark Paulson, yes. Yeah, sorry you were late. It is being recorded, so it will be on the support forums when it's done. Michael answered your question. Oh, okay. Benjamin, is there a webpage detailing costs? You need to contact your distributor to discuss that. If you're a distributor and you happen to be sitting in on this, reach out to myself or Wendy. You can drop an email and support and we can talk to you about it more. Dave, you're talking about our super control program and we'll cover that in a little bit later, but thanks for the color. That helps. Okay, moving on. No more questions about RINEX, hopefully. If not, we'll get it in the Q&A. All right, for Craig, it's now Craig's turn. He got me early, but Craig, it's now your turn, buddy. So new GIS services and features. We're happy to introduce SmartPositioning. It is a component part of XPOS. So it is now here. SmartPositioning is a unique SmartNet service that allows for automatic post-processing of data due to correction signal or mobile internet loss. And this is currently going to be available on the Zeno mobile platform, which is a GIS platform. What happens here is when accuracy of a solution drops to a given trigger value, XenoMobile starts automatically collecting raw GNSS data in the back end. This could be to internet loss or correction service loss. Once your internet service connection is regained, the raw data is automatically packaged up and sent to our servers. The optimal stations are then selected, the data is selected, and then the SmartNet servers begin the post-processing of your data automatically. Once this computation is completed on our servers, we package that data back up and we send it back down to the XenoMobile device. You as a user are prompted with, hey, we have new points that are available that are the accuracy that we stipulate. Do you want to accept them? And then you are able to accept those new updated accurate coordinates into your job file. So pretty slick if you're in and out of mobile internet coverage for some reason as you're working. Unfortunately, currently it is only available on the XenoMobile platform. But it's a pretty slick little thing to be able to bridge the gaps when you have RTK and then drop out for a bit and then are back into mobile internet coverage as well. So like I said, this is integrated into the XenoMobile platform. It is enabled on all Xeno-specific SmartNet licenses, or excuse me, will be enabled on all SmartNet, Xeno-specific SmartNet licenses. It allows for that automated post-processing workflow during a mobile internet outage, and it is a robust server-side solution that optimizes station selections and data availability based on all the stations that are around you, on a server-side basis. And again, this will also be launching on March 1st when we turn on the XPOS entitlements for everyone. So, Craig, hopefully that answered your questions. If it didn't, I would encourage you to reach back out to your hardware vendor to discuss that further about how it can be used, where it can be used, et cetera, now that it will be available come March 1st of just a few short weeks away. All right. All right. So that is SmartPositioning. So with some of the other changes of the RINEX and everything else that's going on, we also needed to make some changes to the site search tool out there to get it fixed to work a little differently. So it has been formatted differently now. So it does start speaking our design languages, and you're going to see this introduced over time. We tried to do a gigantic, massive rewrite to introduce it all at once, but that didn't go quite as well as we'd hoped. So we decided to kind of bite off pieces and parts as we introduce new features to the new design language that we're working with. So this is the new site search tool. If you haven't been there, take a peek. But now, if you're in the site search tool, it will actually show you that a station is online under repair directly in the site database. So you don't have to be looking at the live status map and the site database information, the station information at the same time. Important station advisories are now will now be shown here. I think it was shown in the previous one, but it's a little bit clearer now. So if there is a station that happens to be offline under repair or have a site advisory to it, whatever, it's right there in the station information. We're trying to work that better into our processes so that as we know information, we post the information there. If it's a long-term outage, if something's been offline for just a little bit of time, it probably won't be posted quite yet. With 1560 out there, it's really hard to keep up with stations going on and off. But if they're down for long periods of time, it is our intent and everything we're doing to try to get that information up so that you guys don't have to put a support ticket in to ask us, hey, what's going on with this site? You can go to the site, you can look at the information on the site advisory and know what's going on with that site. In addition to that, one thing that we were kind of missing is what are the multiple reference frame coordinates that are particularly available for a particular site. So now under coordinate information, in addition to the superseded coordinates that are shown, we all are now also showing the MRF coordinates that are available for that particular site. So for Coalinga, for example, here we have a US 2010. This I think is a little older screenshot. So I apologize because it shouldn't show an NYCS1 coordinate available to it. But it would show you what MRF coordinates are available, the reference frame and the epoch that it's in. If you click on that further, it will take you down and actually show you the reference frame coordinates of that station. And then lastly, it will also show you the mount point that coordinate is available for that station in the wild. So you can now go from it, you can go at it from two different directions. You can go from it from the connection and configuration page perspective and see what mount points are available that support MRF. And additionally, you can come with it from the other perspective and see that a particular station you are interested in has coordinates that are available in that particular reference frame. There could be instances where a station does not have all the coordinates that are available for a reference frame for other coordinates that are other stations that are around it. If a new station goes in, for example, typically we don't go back really far in time and say, okay, we're going to put an MRF coordinate on that for something that's more than the current epoch or adjustment or one prior to that. So this will let you know if a coordinate is available for that site, because it is actually in real time. When you hit MRF coordinates and you hit the MRF code, when you hit that, it's actually calling the application layer, not a database, and saying, hey, what coordinates, if I were to connect an RTK right now, this very second, what coordinates can you deliver to me? This is what it can deliver to you. So if you do not see the MRF that you would expect here, that's because it is not available for that site. Feel free to put a ticket in and ask why it's not available, but there's typically reasons that a station may not have an MRF coordinate. So it's not unusual. We try to keep them as aligned as possible, but it might not have them all the time. So this is the new MRF tool inside the site search tool. It's handy for our folks out in BC, handy for our folks out in California. Will continue to be handy for other folks in our actively used MRF areas. On top of the MRF introduction, the data and availability is now switched from the 24x24 files to the epoch by epoch RINEX calculation, epoch by epoch XPOS calculations. So that is now showing up. It's probably actually showing up a little early, but it's now showing up. And when you get RINEX data, hopefully by March 1st, we'll actually have the new RINEX project tool in place. It's just a rechanging of the existing RINEX project, or excuse me, not the existing. It's a change of the updated RINEX project tool using the XPOS backend, but with our new design language and our new templates available. Like I said, hopefully it will be on by March 1st. But XPOS is the backend for this. XPOS is running in the backend for what I just showed you on the old template for my login only, but it is available. So when it launches, either with the new template or the old look, XPOS will be the backend on March 1st. But hopefully we can get the new RINEX project tool template rolled out before then, so you kind of know what's going on. Support resources, as always, we want to encourage you guys to use the support resources that are available. They are there for you. They're not there for us. They're there for you to go get information when you need it and not have to wait on us to get an answer if at all possible. So there's multiple different ways that you can get support from SmartNet. Of course, you can always drop us an email, but that means that you have to wait for us to get back to you. The support knowledge base has a wealth of information. If you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it a million times. Please go there, query, look, find. Most of the most common asked questions are going to have answers there in one way or another. So please go to the support portal and knowledge base to get information. It has a wealth of knowledge, including what we're talking about right now. This webinar is being recorded and will be placed over there for you to go download, or you to be able to go watch and learn more about what we're doing. In addition to that, system status, the status pages are available. They're off of our infrastructure, so you don't have to worry about going there. If SmartNet were having a problem, knock on wood, this is a rarity, but something were to happen to the portal. and get status to know what's happening with the network, coordinate updates, scheduled maintenance, emergency maintenance, unknown outages, all that kind of stuff gets placed on the portal, or excuse me, on the status system, so that you guys have it, even if everything that we do happened to crater. I'm knocking on wood, lots of wood. Station status, live status map is there for you. You can go there and see the live status of a station, and now you can also go and look for the station using the site search tool and get the current status of it right there in the upper right hand corner. And then lastly, of course, Twitter, SmartNet NA, SmartNet_NA is our Twitter handle. Pretty much anything we post anywhere is also going to get posted there. Again, just in case something were to happen, information is there. You don't have to tweet. You don't have to be on Twitter to find that. You can see that in the right-hand pane of the portal as well. So we're on the home stretch now. What's on the horizon? Spring adjustment is just around the corner. So spring adjustment 2021 is on the schedule now. Execution the execution plan has been completed. Preparations have been finished, and data collection is currently underway. So we're now collecting 2 weeks of data. I think we started last weekend, roughly, Friday, Saturday last week. So processing has already been scheduled. So we've got time booked for the processing runs. Then we'll do QA and QC of the new coordinates, and then publishing, of course, is the final steps. Broadcast coordinates are only being updated for California, so we have no other updates scheduled for anybody else broadcasts anytime soon. So California will be getting updated as they're accustomed to twice a year. And that is tentatively projected to hit late April, early May, as we normally talk about. So just a couple months away. And for Dave, since he jumped ahead a little bit on asking about Super Control, the Super Control program is still being worked on and rolled out. This is a high accuracy subset SmartNet stations that will be used as our underlying control. It's similar to the NGS foundational course program that NGS is working on. So all of our Super Control stations will be or have been accepted as part of the NGS course program. And we also are working with NRCan to make sure that we adhere to the standards that they require as well. Why are we doing this? Well, it improves the daily solution availability for our integrity monitoring because we control the stations. We know if they're up, if they're down. We control the delivery of the data of those stations, as opposed to a government shutdown happening again and the FTP site for NGS not being available. It improves solution availability for commissioning of our new stations because we control them. And it also improves consistency from adjustment to adjustment because we don't have to play hunt and peck of, what station today is a good station versus this NGS station versus that NGS station. There are NGS stations, so we'll know that they are good. These are our targeted Super Control locations. Green is installed, including the New Mexico and now the new Van Horn station. They haven't been accepted by NGS, but I think they've been submitted. The Wisconsin site, I can't remember if that one's got submitted yet or not. So we continue to work on this to roll out new sites to be able to take care of it. So that's Super Control. Hopefully that helped you, Dave. But we can talk about that more offline if you want. So important dates, quick recap. New RINEX services and features. So the XPOS launch is happening March 1st. New GIS features, SmartPositioning launch also on March 1st. We then have a 30-day window before we're going to deprecate FTP access on April 1st. The spring adjustment will happen in late April, early May 2021, and full Beidou support will be late June, early July 2021. And then finally, GNSS infrastructure upgrades and expansion availability will happen throughout the year. So if you're in one of the areas that we mentioned earlier, or possibly even beyond, we will continue to roll out GNSS infrastructure and expand SmartNet's reach and footprint to all the corners that we possibly can as we move forward. As always, this is our commitment to you guys. This is how we make our decisions. This is how we decide what we're going to do on a given day. Provide high precision, high availability network corrections provided in a GNSS network corrections in all industry standard formats. So RTCM 3, 1, 3, 2, MSM 4, MSM 5, they're there for you. provide it to all precision industries. And as I said earlier, the number of precision industries, or number of industries that are now require precision are growing day by day. Survey, construction, machine control, engineering, rail, GIS, ag, monitoring, autonomous vehicles, UAV drones, rail apps. I got that twice. They must be really important. And then IoT devices. All of these things are now requiring precision, and we're here to deliver it when they need it, where they need it. Provide this all in a stable and reliable infrastructure on a standard reference frame, and of course, provide a complete customer experience, support and service, online tools, and of course, as you've seen, new features, new services, things that make things better, extend what we currently have to you so you get more value for the subscriptions that you have. So with that, we'll wrap with any other questions. Let's see what we got here. My crews really have difficult connecting. I see no heartbeat received message on the log. Tech help hasn't helped solution, but hint there is an issue being worked on. Any comment on this? No heartbeat received means we did not get a valid NEMA string from you where you tell us where you are. So typically that's packet loss between you and us, meaning that the cellular data connection between you and us, there's something kind of wonky on it, and you're not able to tell us where you are. And if you can't tell us where you are, we kill the connection. And the reason we kill the connection is so that you can reconnect. So we can have something that's called a hung socket, where if we just left that connection open all the time, then you would see the other dreaded error, which is too many concurrent connections, meaning that you're trying, the connection was bad, you dropped on your side, the socket was hung on our side, meaning we kept that authentication open for your username and password, and then you tried to connect back in, and then you get too many concurrent connection errors. So typically that's an indicator that there's a poor cellular connectivity, or there's something wrong with you sending us your position. So we have to drop that connection and let you start again. So that's what no heartbeat received means, is that we're not hearing from you in a timely manner, which is 30 seconds. To be able to keep the connection open. Dave, I understand, a little bummed Capo didn't make the cuts. We're not getting rid of any NGS core stations that we maintain. All of our stations that are NGS stations are going to stay NGS stations. Non-NGS stations will be used for integrity, non-super control stations that are NGS stations will be used for integrity monitoring and fiducial control, so that when we do our adjustment, we will check the coordinates of say Capo that are NGS derived against what we derive, and make sure those two match up. So Capo being an important station, is still just as an important station. And really it's just a matter of geometry. So we're always playing with geometry with NGS because they have that 70-kilometer hard threshold that basically says you can't have another NGS station with a 70K. So we're picking and choosing holes of where we have stations, where we could put stations to make them fit, and then trying to hold the 500, 650-kilometer spacing that we want for super control. So don't worry, Capo is going to be an NGS station as long as you're there and it stays up, or Oakland falls into the water. So it will be there, and it's just as important as a super control site, because it is going to be a fiducial control site that lets us check what we did to make sure we got it right. So hopefully that answers your question. Ron, did that answer your no heartbeat question? Hopefully. At least you know what's happening now. Unfortunately, there's not a good way to know how to fix it if it's an internet issue, because the internet's. Neil King has had his hand raised for a long darn time, and I haven't answered his question because he's not typed me one. Same thing for Frank. If you guys have questions and you have your hands raised, please type it into the little box so that I can answer it. And I'll hang out here as long. Oh, Neil put his hand down. Okay. Neil put his hand down. Is Frank going to answer a question? Well, folks, as always, any application, any constellation, open to all. If you do have questions, need for support, whatever, support at SmartNet NA. SmartNet.com. Please go to the support forums if you need to get help. And if you do have a colleague, comrade, partner in crime that did not get to hear this webinar, or for Mark, who was late, we did record this and it will be posted just as soon as I clean it up a smidge and get it up onto the support forums. But it will be there and posted. We'll probably also put a tweet up that it's up so that it's in the portal so you can click on that as well. So we'll try to get it there as many ways as possible. So I'll hang out here as long as you guys want me to answer any other questions that you might have. But thank you so much for being part of SmartNet, being part of our family, and being subscribers to us. We really do value you being here. If you're in one of the cold areas, stay safe. And of course, during these trying times for the past year, everybody stay safe, healthy, and take care of one another. But I'll hang out here for just as long as you need me to. All right. Thanks, guys.